Afterwards to sweet lettuce. It's as close I can compare it to real to the outside, conical from the tubular to outsider. It's 2x cave to articulate in full. The feeling of at least 50% escape the 2x cave sun this second to stone all possible, and revisit after lunar circle of many. The first we'll explain about afterwards, and the following will talk about the sweet lettuce. Into the afterwards. First, the move of the cake is already in process to continue, but without me. In the second, I appear inside squares of the cake and locate next to unshape. Unshape was center wide and high to rat, so erase the following for the unspoken. Here, I breather and relocate for a 7er to spin. To relocate was in reason of the ache around the source. Think to forget and indulge, but all is not well. Time to pass as guilt to accumulate in unreasonable weight. Why not get up? Why was I unable to reason to return and get moving? Still time to continues without me for the whole 7er of regret and think of responsibility. Then hurtable is the afterwards, which was blocked connection to the unshaped to be caught outside severely. I felt the catch me outside feeling in moments to multiply, but I erase the pathological pathways to the unshape and reject completely. Moving to distort every relocation relate to the bad feeling, and the lunar already close to show. Rays of the sun to marble angle arrive to the position where stars enter the observation, soon to be in the moment. Feeling was still bad and sit on wooder next to the cake. Other on wooders adjacent as well. These other local come from outland to compete in the cake with, and attempt to appear nice for the observation and proximal existence. But the distal to be under the question. This case when isolated the closer to be seen of the sweet when the source radial was still aching. I gathered the course and stepped up to the lettuce carrier. This is where I start to store the lettuce data foreseen to preserve. The asker was to see if I was allowed to sit next to the lettuce carrier, and permission was given, maybe in favor of the 8 to carry this micro-win. So I sat and did the halfening. Halved I continued in the dark rays and in the vicinity fell to sleep. This was a sleep inside of a sleep for to say 20% of the process. Reinstate is the wake, then it happened in succession. Open the eyes and no longer on a wooder alone, but within crowd still in the dark with no longer aches. Ratty to be vacancy filled and the lettuce on the stage with waves to spread and collide. The white to white contact was already going and waves colliding. Missed and organizational pay for the made up and behinds turned out to be locals, and I absorbed the collider which was a target for me. I cannot install the words or the melody, only can say of the sweet conical absorbed with no friction. Sweet spread in all directions of centers to terrains of wet, the lettuce became sweet, and the horizontal bent up west and east as the target was reached. I then knew the afterwards was sweet as all miss out and for behend was not equal to real. All the worry was hit the rock manipulation and plummet to zero. So now that happy, step up and take all sweet in the night. Standing in close a whole legion to congratulate the healing success, and shake the hand of the tall happy. Few information to echo about the locals. All to spectate in this second relocate from importance, and the round and the light to leave the stage. Currently in territory were me, lettuce and tall happy, so I will only reason a bit of the tall happy. This one was tall for 7 to 8 times 12 the lunar circle, so very long, but the activity was to pretend and try to achieve commodity in such way for the tall. That was not in agreement with me, and tall ego simmered through the circles even when forgotten. The tall also came into possession with an example of avoidal twice, but here not to be part of the observation, scared to be. Here tall installed a happy end for this reason not to break the mood. Shake the hand with an accepting motion and take in the sweet, then leave and turn around. From talked about experience the tall happy almost stayed in tubular with larger intensity as compared to the magnitude of the newly longer instances, sweet lettuce. But turning on the soft rectangular volume continues more so on the left than the right, and nearing the dropping Celsius gradient. It was between 7 and 800, so the short was to end. To echo the honesty, I cannot explain the significant duration of individual substance constituents to this experience in off-worldly like talkative times. In a twister motion the targeted marble effects affected positively to the long cylindrical in wrap cotton twice. This time both in black to the proximity. Now in reinstated state the intuiting quickly became different. The tall happy is reject in full is similar to everything else to be considered, and the only unlike characteristic being the deletion of the other bits. Only malleable constituent introduced to recent investigation example is the instance of sweet lettuce, which remind of sweet in the second bot into the think turnabout as sour, unlike the rubbery substance in the see-through blown polymer packet, but similar to the lettuce with vinegar upon passing the following few days under flat plates. The outshine of energy to be interpreted into acceptance, lead to channeling the flow into straight upwards. This the reason for taking this finish in silence to tie up the forest append to the lifting motion with cat 360, to stop around everywhere outside and not observe. Located the terrain cloud anchor points and deleted them for the second. fully committed to the suite in connection to the triple entrances in this lattice. Intake the middle one to touch all surface points and maximize contact area. Teeth to be seen, but the corners reaching Alaska it seems. Darkening tones significantly revealed the reel of selections. All cheats and hacks are implemented at this point, as the travel continues to Malaysia, and finishes happen every so often, and Sweet is thrown to the tangle with change. It did however amuse me. While the composure was as intended in the hallucination, and top rating is what our attribute to the manipulation of the salad's neuron condition as pertained to the acceptance spoken of. Herein to extend the whole tree for the outlier. Working on such projects will not be signaled with longer durations, whether or not flags are thrown by selectors. These endeavors shoot out to free the friendships, but to consider the river shows this one might not be a part of that collection. Prepositions suppose much more railway forms obviously, so I elapse that as the direction of worries to maybes. So much work to fantastic is in the opposite I do, and reason to why a disconnect to this topic. Exactly the same in between. Away until the under to put storage matter for the wide.